So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's tasting. This evening's Zoom webinar with Nicolas Jaboulet of Maison and Domaine Les Alexandrins, which, as I was saying to Nicolas earlier, it's a bit of a mouthful for me, so I'm going to try not to have to keep saying it this evening. So this is a partnership between Nicolas, Perrin and Sorrel, which was created in 2009. Though it really got up and running from 2014 onwards. They source and produce really fine wines from the Northern Rhône for the most part. And I, for one, am really looking forward to hearing more about it this evening, about this whole venture. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Emma. I work in the tastings team, and I'm joined today by my colleague Gil, who is behind the scenes doing the technical side of things. A couple of points of housekeeping before we get started, as always. I'm sure you all know the drill by now. If you experience any connectivity problems or technical issues, please do get in touch with us and we'll try to resolve the issue as best we can. You can contact us via the email tastings@thewinesociety.com, or within Zoom, you can click on the reactions tab and raise your hand or message us directly using the chat feature. We'd really love to hear from you throughout the event. We'd like this to be as as kind of mixed as possible. So as much as you like, please do get in touch. Tell us what you're thinking. We'd love to know what you're drinking, where you are, where you're joining us from, and what you think. And if you have any questions at all, please use the chat feature and please use the Q&A tab to submit any questions. That way they remain front and center, and we can get through as many as possible throughout the evening. So I think that's enough from me now. Let me pass over to Nicolas, who's waiting in the wings to talk to you about Maison and Domaine Les Alexandrins. Welcome, Nicolas.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you. I can't see everybody, sadly, but I know that there are quite a number of members behind the screen. So thank you so much for attending this Zoom event. It's a bit frustrating to be behind the screen. I would rather prefer, being with you and testing and shares with you some wine. But anyway, I'm very happy to spend this hour with you, introducing my wines. And I know we are going to show you some pictures and sharing a presentation of the winery. So first of all, can you hear me very well? Yeah. Okay. So as Emma was saying, Maison and Domaine Les Alexandrins, it's a partnership. Maybe I can very briefly give you some information back on my background. I'm from the Jaboulet family, and the Jaboulet family, we used to own a very famous winery called Paul Jaboulet Aimé, also located in the Northern Rhône. We were located in Tage-Hermitage, and I was the sixth generation of this winery. And in 2006, for some family reason, we decided to sell the winery. And I stayed 3 years with the new owner, the family Frey, who owns also a famous chateau in Bordeaux called La Lagune. And in 2009, I decided to leave the winery. And I wanted to start my own winery. And I was a very good long-term friend with the Perrin. You know, Perrin, they are very famous for their Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Beaucastel. That's the main winery of Perrin family, but they have also some other famous wine like La Vieille Ferme, but also some Côtes-du-Rhône, some Gigondas, some Vin Sauve, Baccarat. And the Perrin families are very, very strong in the southern Rhône. And at that time, in 2009, we decided to combine our force and start our partnership. And at the beginning, the company was called Maison Nicolas Perrin. So I was using my first name, Nicolas, because I couldn't use my name Jaboulet anymore. And I was linking my first name to their family name, Perrin. So we created Maison Nicolas Perrin. And the idea was to create a kind of small boutique négoce producing wine from all the northern Rhône AOC. Côte-Rôtie in the top north, but also some Saint-Joseph, some Hermitage, white and red, were the first four appellations. And it was really a kind of small boutique négoce that we wanted to produce. So we were sourcing barrique from different growers to make sure that we have access to different terroirs on each appellation. And when we were doing the final blend, we wanted really to have a final blend which represents the appellation in with the different terroirs, the different exposition, the different altitude. And during few years, we were really active in the Northern Rhône as a boutique négoce. In the same time, I mean, we knew that in our DNA is also in both family is to own vineyards and to have our own parcel. And we started in 2011 buying our first parcel of Crozes. We purchased a small 1.2 hectares in the lieu-dit Les Saviots, in the middle part of Crozes-Hermitage, in the regions. And we achieved in 2015 to purchase a small domain, local domain called Domaine Les Alexandrins. And this domain was a 8-hectare domain, split 4 hectares of Crozes-Hermitage and 4 hectares of Saint-Joseph, plus, I mean, few remaining parcel of Van Pays, but we didn't really keep the Van Pays. So we really concentrate on the AOC and we keep those 8 hectares. And this domain was initially created by two guys. One of them was Guillaume Sorrel, famous name also from Hermitage. You may be familiar with Marc Sorel Winery, and Guillaume is the son of Marc Sorel. And we purchased this domain in 2015. And we proposed Guillaume and Alexandre, the other guy, was more in charge of the viticulture, to stay with us as shareholder. And we change the name of Nicolas Perrin, and we create from Nicolas Perrin, we become Maison and Domaines Les Alexandrins. That, Emma, you love to say because you pronounce it very well. So 2015 was the beginning of Maison and Domaine Les Alexandrins. So now is the presentation coming. So maybe we can go straight to the second slide. I don't know who is going to move it. Yeah. So as you can see here on the picture, this is my home village. This is Hermitage. So I'm sure that some of you have been there. Hermitage is known not only for wine, it's a very famous village also for chocolate. We have a very famous chocolate factory called Valrhona, who have its head office here in Hermitage. So Hermitage is on the bottom of the hill of Hermitage that you can see on the picture, and the Rhône River that you can also see on the picture. And my family, Jaboulet, we were my grandparents, my grandparents were born in Hermitage, and that's really my home city. And that's why when we set up Maison and Domaine Les Alexandrins, we decided to create the winery in Hermitage. So you will see some picture of Tain and the winery coming on the next picture. So I mentioned to you those names, those dates. Sorry, 2009. The foundation of the winery with the family Perrin. In 2015, the acquisition of Domaine Les Alexandrins to Alexandre Cazot. I withdrew Guillaume Sorrel because since 2018, Guillaume has decided to leave. He decided to leave because it was the period of a transition for himself with the family Domaine. Marc Sorrel retired, and Guillaume took over. So Guillaume was there in 2015, 16, 17, and left in 2018. So today, Les Alexandrins is run by, of course, the Perrin family, Alexandre for the viticulture part, and myself. And 2018 was also important because we built the winery, the new winery in the center of Tage. And 2023 was another big date for us because we made a new acquisition of Domaine Saint-Joseph. And it's a very big acquisition because from 35 hectares, we went up to 78 hectares. So now we are quite a big owner of vineyards. So from 2009, where we were a pure négoce, we are becoming now quite a decent producer in the Northern Rhône. So we can move to the next slide. And just for people who, I mean, I put this slide, I mean, I know that in UK, I mean, everybody knows where we are, but sometimes I have the presentation in Japan or China, and it's important to look at, to bring a location. And we are in the Northern Rhône, influenced by the Alps and more than by the Mediterranean. And that's really, I explain it on the next slide. It's important to make people understand that when you speak about the Northern Rhône, it's completely different than Southern Rhône. North and South, it's two different regions. It's like Beaujolais and Burgundy. It's sometimes, I mean, we are part of the same family of wine, the Rhône Valley wines, but Côte du Rhône wine North and Côte du Rhône South are totally opposite and different. First of all, I would like to say the size of the appellation. When you put all together the Northern Rhône, that's a bit smaller than Châteauneuf-du-Pape by himself. So we are facing a very, very small parcel in the Northern Rhône. The largest appellation of the Northern Rhône is Crozes-Hermitage, is left bank of the river. So very often I will speak about left and right. You don't have to look at the screen, but you have to go down the river. So from north to south. So Saint-Joseph, Cornas will be right bank of the river, as Hermitage will be left bank of the river because we go from north to the south of France. What makes a big difference is that we are in the Northern Rhône, a corridor between two mountains. We are a corridor between the Alps, which is on the east side of France, and Massif Central, which is in the medium part of France. Massif Central is a very old mountain, volcanic mountain, and Combrieux, Saint-Joseph, Cornas, Saint-Péret are the limit of Massif Central on terroir of granite. This corridor between those two mountains is also the place where the wind is starting and accelerating. And we have a small influence of Mistral in the Northern Rhône, but you have heard about Mistral in the south of Southern Rhône. And for instance, when I discuss it with the Perrin family in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, they have nearly more than 100 days of Mistral a year. So one day on 3, they have Mistral. And Mistral is a cold wind, is a strong wind, it's a northern wind. Also, the difference between the north and the south is the varietals. In the north, in the Northern Rhône, we are facing single varietal wines. So we have only one red grapes, is the Syrah. In the south, they have Grenache, but they have also Mourvèdre, they have Cinsault, and they have up to, as you say, you know, 13 different grapes with Châteauneuf du Pape. In the Northern Rhône, we have 1 red grapes, and then we have 3 white grapes, Marsanne, Roussanne, and Bionier. So that's also one of the difference. And finally, we don't produce really Côte du Rhône in the Northern Rhône. The production of the generic Côte du Rhône appellation is from the south. In the Northern Rhône, we only have AOC, Cru, planted, and we have some Vin de Pays on the plateau of each appellation or on the bottom of the hill of each appellation. So on the next picture, on the next slide, you will see by each appellation the surface of parcels that we own. And the great thing is, and especially because of the acquisition of Michelin Saint-James property, we own now parcel on every single appellation of Northern Rhône. Of course, except Châteaubriand, but Châteaubriand is one owner, one appellation. But we have some garden, I would say big garden, in Côte-Rôtine, Condrieu, in Hermitage. And then we have some nice spot in Crozes, 60 hectares. We have some Saint-Perrin coming, some Saint-Joseph. And it's really a wonderful property because we have the diversity of production. We have access to a diversity of terroir. We produce also a lot of white, and sometimes people doesn't realize that the Northern Rhône is also a white region. Very often you think Rhône is red, but Rhône is also white. We have 2 appellations in the Northern Rhône which produce only white wine, is Condrieu and Saint-Perrin. And Saint-Perrin, the name Saint-Perrin, just for the story, the name Saint-Perrin comes from a monk coming from Aï in Champagne, who come from Champagne and start living in this village. And this village was called Saint-Pierre of Aï, and by contraction became Saint-Perrin. And in Saint-Perrin, the monk experimented some sparkling wine with method champenoise. And still now in Saint-Perrin, you have a production of sparkling wine. So the white in the Northern Rhône is important. We are also producing some Crozes-Hermitage white, some Saint-Joseph white, and some Hermitage white. So that's for our parcel. The next slide is important for me because that has been a huge work that we have been realizing since now 7 years. Is we turn organic. It's huge, and it's not for us. It's also very logic to be organic, in the sense that the Perrin family and Beaucastel is organic since the 60s, 70s. So it's a family culture. It's not a marketing interest. It's really in the culture of the Perrin. And really, when you visit Beaucastel, you can see some very old picture of Jacques Perrin. I mean, showing, all the organic process, but also in the cellar. He was a very, very clever guy, very much in advance in his time, I would say. And for Les Alexandrins, it was absolutely normal to go in the same philosophy. So we are turning organic since now, vintage 23, we have the certification on all our vineyards. The next slide, we have 3 slides showing the different terroirs, because the Northern Rhône, we have 3 main terroirs. We have the granite, and you can see a picture of granite right now. Granite is that's the main terroir that you will find on the right bank of the river. So on Côte-Rôtie, on Saint-Joseph, on Cornas. It's a terroir which is very interesting, especially right now because it's more fresh, keep more acidity. You have sometimes rocks of granite, like it is on the picture. Sometimes it can be a bit more decomposed granite. And it's behind the granite, you always keep a little more humidity in the soil. So it gives wine with deepness, but always a lot of fresher at the end with the aftertaste. Then you see the next slide is alluvion. Alluvion, that's the main terroir that you will find on the left bank of the river, on Crozes-Hermitage, for instance, but also on some parcel of Hermitage. It's also a terroir that you will find in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, for instance. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, the terroir of alluvion is everywhere. Those alluvion, they have the particularity of, during the day, collecting the heat from the sun, and overnight reflecting the heat. So the grapes are totally roasted day and night, and it's a terroir which is very warm. So of course, when the vintage is warm, when we have canicule, the grapes are completely cooked, I would say, by the sun and by the soil. So warm terroir, not really a terroir for white, lovely terroir for red wine. And the third terroir, that's the next slide, is sand. The sand is a terroir that you will find very much on the plateau of the appellations, like on Hermitage, on the plateau of Hermitage. And we have a lot of white planted on sand. The reason we have sand is the sand has been brought by the Mediterranean Sea during million years, carrying with the south wind some sand and deposit on top of the mountain. It's only 5-10% of the terroir, but very interesting for white wine. So that's the three main terroirs of Northern Rhône. We also have schist. We also have, but it's like we have limestone in Saint-Joseph, but it's more like pocket. Granite and alluvion are the two main terroirs of Northern Rhône. And finally, we have a few pictures showing the next slide, some Saint-Joseph. So it's important that people keep in mind that we are in the Northern Rhône, and especially on the right bank, facing vineyards which are very steep. It's not an easy vineyard to work. You have to imagine that everything is handmade. When you have terraces like this, you cannot work with tractors. All the job has to be made by hand. This picture is the historical vineyards of Saint-Joseph, called Vignes des Hospices. You certainly know the wine because it's Marcel Vigal who has this parcel. And beside is the Château de Tournon. So this is just in front of Hermitage. So when you have when you remember the first picture where I was showing the village of Tain and the vineyards of Hermitage behind the village of Tain, this is the opposite side of Hermitage. And then you have a picture of Condrieu on the next slide, and a parcel of Crozes-Hermitage. And Crozes-Hermitage, as you see, it's flat. And that's the only appellation of Northern Rhône, which is completely flat, where you can imagine working with tractors. So it's that's why also it's certainly the most affordable appellation of Northern Rhône is that it's the biggest appellation, but it's also the easiest one to work. Then you have an overview of Hermitage, Tournon. You can see in the back, I mean, the vineyards of Saint-Joseph, I just show you. You can see the Rhône River. And this picture is taken from the Hermitage appellation. So this is my home village that you can see on the bottom. So really for people who have never been there, we are located 80 kilometers south of Lyon, and really it's a beautiful place to visit. Most of the time, it's not a place where people stay a long time. I mean, people stay in the southern Rhône because the village are very, very beautiful. But the northern Rhône is very interesting to visit the vineyards and really to explore the vineyards, to see the difference between both sides of the river, the terroir. Sometimes, I mean, you walk in the Hermitage, and from one side of the road to the other side, you move from granite to alluvium. So it's a very, very interesting terroir to visit.
They're fantastic pictures. They really do. It's been a while since I've last been in the Rhône, but looking at those photos, I'm like, wow, I really need to go back again. They're gorgeous.
You should. You should come back.
Definitely. And it does a good deal in kind of showing you the topography as well, just how steep it is.
It is very, very steep, and that was the main issue when you want to become organic, because organic is something which is more easy to make when it's flat and when you can use tractors, and when it's unmade, it's quite an issue. But we did it, and we are very happy now to be certified.
Well, congratulations! That's a big step.
Yeah, for sure. I have just one or two more pictures is to show you the cellar that we have been opening in 2018. It's a very old building, and it's funny because this winery looks new, and it's new. I mean, we rebuilt more or less all the house, but the house is old. And this house used to be another winery 30 years ago, 40 years ago, even more. That was the Delas winery. So Michel Delas, when he was still head of Delas, so before they sell to Dutch, they were using this winery in Hermitage. And then it becomes also the winery of Daré-Ribot. So for the people who really know the Northern Rhône, Daré-Ribot were the pioneer of nature wine in the Rhône and in the Hermitage area in the beginning of the 90s. And so it was their cellar for approximately 8 years. And we purchased this cellar in 2016, and we had nearly 2 years of work, and we opened it in 2018. So for the first vinification.
Wow.
So that's really some pictures I wanted to show you to really start the presentation and open the discussion now. So of course, I mean, I'm very happy to answer questions. I mean, as you can see on this picture, we are more and more using big format of barrels. I grew up with Paul Jaboulet with only barriques, 228 liters of barriques. When I joined Perrin, they have they're using a lot of foudres, and you see the 4 foudres that you can see on the picture. 3 of them are coming from Beaucastel, and more in the Northern Rhône, you see people using big format of wood. I think it's a new trend. People people like there is a change in the style of wine, and there is a change in the in the production of wine. We try to make wine which are maybe approachable earlier, have more fruit, very delicate fruit, very easy drinking. And for some of the wine, not all of them, of course. I mean, we are not changing for Hermitage or Cornas, but for Crozes-Hermitage, for instance, we are using more and more those kind of big wood vat.
That's good. So Sheila had picked up in your previous photo that you had concrete eggs
Yeah,
for
we do.
fermentation, and she was asking whether you used them and what effect you find they have.
Yes, we do. We do it for white. I know some people use it also for red. To be honest, we have never tried for red. Um, we have only one for so far, and we have only one, not because um, we don't want to have more. Is first of all, it's very expensive, and secondly, because um, we have tried with Crozes, and we are not convinced with Marsanne and Roussanne.
Okay.
But we recently, since 3 years, we are doing the vinification of our Condrieu, and we really like it with the Viognier. So we
Okay.
don't produce a lot of Condrieu, so we don't need more than one egg. But this is for Viognier, it's very interesting because the wood on Viognier can be a bit too much. What we like with Viognier is to keep tension, to keep pressure, and to keep a good aromatic. And sometimes Viognier in wood, you can bring, it can become a bit more heavy, and sometimes a bit too much. And we like concrete egg because you keep a very nice tension into the wine. So
Okay.
yes, we use it for sure, and we use it for Condrieu.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Should we
And
start
then,
with the first of the white wines, the Les
yeah,
Alexandrines,
sure,
the
sure.
Viognier? And
Yeah,
there's more questions that are coming in as well. So if you, I don't know whether you've got this one, but
I got it. Yeah,
excellent.
it's here and it's already in my glass.
Fantastic. And I know a few people were saying that
Cheers,
they tried this one as well.
cheers,
Cheers.
cheers, everybody. Yeah.
So can you talk
Um,
us through this one?
yeah. So as I mentioned, Viognier is one of the three Northern Rhône white varietal. So for me, it was really important that we have a kind of entry level wine, and Viognier is perfect because it's a grapes with a huge personality. Um, I must say that uh, you never, when people taste Viognier, you never get 100% of people who like it. Viognier, it has such a personality. Uh, you have some people who like and some people who don't get into Viognier. Viognier is sometimes you can have even the feeling that you can have some sweetness into the Viognier. I can tell you there is no sugar at all. We are below below 1 gram, and so which means that it's completely dry. Um, this Viognier comes from the altitude vineyards, mostly from Ardèche. So Ardèche is right bank of the river, on the side of Saint-Joseph, Cornas, and Ardèche is quite high in altitude. Can be above 350, 400, and it can be very cold in winter. There's a very famous restaurant called Régis Marcon. So they are on the board of Ardèche. They are in Loire, but it's really on the limit between Ardèche and Loire. And their village is called Saint-Bonnet-le-Froid. And really, Le Froid is not just an invention. It's very cold. And every year they have snow. And sometimes they have more snow in Saint-Bonnet-le-Froid than in some places in the Alps. It's a place in Ardèche where it can be cold. And it's very interesting sometimes with the Vionnier to be in this kind of Ardèche area because, of course, we won't have the same style of Viogniers as in Languedoc or in a place which will be very warm, like in South Africa or California. So it won't be as aromatic or as jammy or honey flavor, but you will keep more acidity, more fresher, which for me is very interesting with the Viognier. And that's really the story of this wine. That's the vintage 23 with not a super powerful nose, but quite precise. You have a little white peach, a little citronous aromatic, and you have this acidity coming on the palate.
You're right, it's lovely. And because you have that freshness, it doesn't kind of flip into the big blousy kind of very, very rich styles that you can get from especially from the New World as well. So it is a very it's funny, Colin was saying that in the UK these kind of wines called Marmite wines, you love them or you hate them, as you were saying.
Yeah.
So they're saying actually because this is on the leaner side and it's got that more freshness to it, I think it could convert few people. So it's lovely. It's nice to have the opportunity to try it.
And you know, we have been really I would say successful with this wine. Also because I think there is a change also in the trend of what people are eating, and all this Asian cuisine, Japanese food, Thai food. I mean, Viognier works very well, and like Alsatian grapes, Gewürztraminer, Riesling, they are doing very well with this kind of food, and because they are very aromatic, and Viognier, because of its aromatic, goes also very well with this kind of food. And also people are more and more used to drink white wine for aperitif and keep the same wine for dinner. And really Viognier is getting there. Very nice wine. No aging barrique. Really the idea is to keep it in stainless steel and really to capture the fruit and to bottle the wine and deliver it.
Excellent. That's lovely. Thank you. There's more questions, but should we go on and try the Society's French Syrah? Are you happy to do so? I don't know if anybody's got the Syrah in their house and is opening it and trying it. Please let us know what you think as well. And whilst we're talking about that, we've had a couple of questions that have come in. One of which was, could you talk a little bit about, because I know you touched on the vintage for the Viognier, could you talk a little bit about recent vintages? How bad, in inverted commas, was 2021, for instance?
Honestly, 21 for me is not bad at all.
Good news.
It was no. It's funny because I'm sure I discussed it a week ago with Marcel Williams. So I'm sure your members know Marcel because he has been working for the Wine Society for I don't know how much, but maybe 35 years or something like that.
I think so. It's been a long time.
Long time. And Marcel was in town last week. We had a beautiful Hermitage tasting. And I put my Hermitage red and white 21, 21, sorry. And there were many 22 next to it, and he was surprised. And I tell him, look, 21 for white, I'm convinced is really great because it was a light vintage with a good acidity. And for white, we need acidity. And acidity is definitely a very good support for a white balance. So no question that 21 is great for white. For red, of course, it's not the most spectacular vintage in terms of tannins. So for people who want a massive wine, very powerful, don't take 21. But for people who like very, very soft tannins, elegant wine to drink within the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 21 is perfect. And it's really good for Crozes-Hermitage, for Hermitage. Of course, 21 is not a wine to keep 15 years. That's for sure. But if you consider a wine to drink for the next 2, 3 years, 21, or for Christmas this year, 21 is great, really. And now I would say we have vintage before 21. I would say 2017, 18, 19, 20, which were kind of Mediterranean vintage, very warm, very intense, very rich. And then we have 22, 23, 24, which curiously, it's still warm. We still have some period of canicule in summertime, but we have a lighter balance, and we don't have a high degree like we used to have in 18 or 19.
Okay.
And I don't know if it will keep going like this, but for instance, 2024, we have no wine above 13.5 of alcohol in the cellar.
Wow.
Nothing.
Okay.
And the average alcohol level in the cellar this year is 12.5 to 13.
That's refreshing.
It's really amazing to see that we have the feeling, but maybe we have to wait 10 years, 15 years to understand what is happening. But we have the feeling that the plant, the vineyards, get used to the change of climate slowly, and in a way adapt herself to the new condition. And when you walk in the vineyards in August now, you can already see some leaves falling down, which means that the plant is sacrificing some leaves to make sure that the small quantity of water remaining feed the grapes and not the leaves. And so we'll see in the future how it goes, but this year I'm very, very surprised by 24 vintage. And we did the tasting with Marcel last week, Monday last week, and we tasted 15 wines of 24, and it's very, very surprising. The concentration, it's extremely fruity, the vintage, lovely red fruit, very light alcohol.
Awesome. It makes a nice change from the kind of, because there was a period kind of maybe up to 10 years ago where the alcohol just felt like it was just on the up all the time.
Sure.
It's nice for it to start coming back down. Another question as we taste the Syrah, somebody's saying, what's the thinking behind the screw cap? Was it your choice, or did Marcel kind of twist your arm, or is this something you're moving towards?
No, that's a good question, and honestly, I don't remember. What is sure is that we like screw cap. We like screw cap, especially for this kind of wine, for the Viognier, for this Syrah, because most of the wine are bottled and they are sold within 24 months. But on this specific question, is it Marcel who decide, or is it myself who proposed? Honestly, I don't remember. But the fact is that I think it's a perfect closure for
Hmm.
this kind of wine. This Syrah is a combination of different terroirs
Hmm.
that we own. One of them is close to Brezen. Brezen is south. It's in really it's a kind of parcel which is in between Northern Rhône and Southern Rhône. It's close to Montélimar, and it's a Syrah on limestone. It's very fresh. It's very curious because since we have this parcel, it's south of Northern Rhône, but you have the feeling that it's coming from the north of the north because it's lighter. It's a very soft Syrah, and I think it's really what when Marcel and is really working the blend of this wine. He is working on a blend that uh, brings a lot of pleasure, um, but something very fast, um, fast pleasure. But in the same
Hmm.
time, I know sometimes he told me that he tried to keep this wine 5, 6 years, 7 years, and there are some very nice tasting after 6 or 7 years. Because don't forget that Syrah is uh, is naturally a fantastic raw material. Syrah,
Hmm.
you have color, you have tannins, and you have aromatic. You don't need to put this wine in barrique to get tannins. Syrah naturally have tannins.
Yeah.
When you start the maceration of Syrah, uh, you cannot make a rosé wine. After a few hours, the wine is dark, and after a
Hmm.
few days, is really, really dark. So
Yeah.
really, Syrah has this great potential, and of course, really this blend of Syrah that we have been producing with Marcel is uh, is lovely, easy drinking Syrah, very
Hmm.
typical of Northern Rhone Syrah. That was also the second uh, goal. I mean, when we produce this wine, is not to produce a Syrah from Languedoc. It's really to produce a Syrah in the Northern Rhone style.
Hmm. Hmm. Which I think you've managed to do, and it's a lovely syrup for anybody who's trying it as well. Let us know what you think. But it's got elegance, it's got balance. It's the kind of wine you can drink on its own, but would also go brilliantly with food as well. So it kind of straddles lots of different occasions.
Definitely, definitely, and that's what we are really trying to
Yeah.
do.
One last question on closures. Somebody's asked, is France, are the French more accommodating of screw cap now? Because before it used to be seen as a closure for cheaper wines. Are they now more open to screw cap?
No, I don't think so. Not
No.
yet.
Okay.
No, I
No.
mean, in fact, it depends who. Um, if you ask a restaurateur, they love screw cap. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
brasserie, they love screw cap because it's easy. But
Mm.
to sell screw cap in wine shop, it's still difficult.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
still difficult. So white is admitted. For instance, the Viognier is in screw cap in France, no problem. It's really admitted by everybody. For the red is more difficult.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Are you happy to? I'm aware of time and I'm aware of the fact that you've got dinner. So are you
No, no, but
happy to?
it's a wine dinner, in fact. It's a wine dinner that I have in Lyon
Oh
tonight.
gosh, okay. Which case, should we move on to the exhibition Crozes-Hermitage? Are you
Yes,
happy to
yes, we
do
can.
so?
Yeah. So I'm very happy to have this wine also in tasting because it's a beautiful partnership that we have with the Wine Society, and we work this blend very, very carefully uh, with Marcel.
Mm,
Really, each time we do this blend, we have a selection of tank, and we work in the laboratory and test during 1 hour and in the different percentage of each tank that we should share together. And finally, we achieve to have one final blend. Um, Crozes-Hermitage, as you know, as you've seen, it's a big part. It's a big part of the Northern Rhône. It's more or less 50% of the Northern Rhône area is Crozes-Hermitage. We own now 60 hectares, so we have a very nice potential of production, and we have access to different villages of Crozes-Hermitage. So we have parcel on La Roche-de-Glin, on Pont-d'Isère, on Larnage, on Mercurol, etc. And of course, it doesn't look very different, but there are some small difference in altitude, exposure. Some are more protected from wind, so are really south oriented, and that's great because when we do the blend of this, we can. It's like when you make a painting and you have different color. You can really use different color, and that's the same thing for this Crozes-Hermitage. Is we don't stick to one specific terroir or one specific village, but we have really access to the whole palette of Crozes-Hermitage. So of course, this Crozes-Hermitage, the idea is also to produce a Crozes-Hermitage which is a very, very traditional Crozes-Hermitage. And when I say traditional, is that Crozes, it has to be very fruity, a little black fruit, dark fruit. It has to be a spicy black pepper taste. And this Crozes-Hermitage is mainly aged in concrete tank. And as you have seen, we have some big wood tank or some foodrest, and a part of it can be in those tanks.
Okay.
For some period of aging.
And what's the difference between the societies, because we're quite often asked, between the society's exhibition Crozes-Hermitage and your Domaine Maison Les Alexandrins Crozes-Hermitage, apart from one is much younger, the exhibition is 2022 and the Alexandrine is 2015. So apart from the age, is there...
So in the Crozes-Hermitage, in the next one that you will have, it's more like some parcel wines that we are using, some older vines, and there are some difference in the élevage process where we have more folk aging, either in foodrest or in demi-nuit. As this Crozes-Hermitage from the society exhibition is more in concrete time. Okay.
It's lovely. There's a lovely aroma on it as well. I always get a kind of slight, kind of savory, almost slightly black olive. Not as much as you might get from kind of Hermitage and things, but it's got a kind of slightly savory note to it, slightly irony, which is lovely.
And this is a 22 vintage that you recently released.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And to be honest, 22 is really a vintage to have in his cellar. It's a beautiful vintage in many regions, but in the Rhône was a beautiful region, a beautiful vintage.
Again, quite elegant, but it's got lovely structure to it, and there's that nice weight of fruit there as well. Probably dangerously drinkable.
I don't know if it's a danger. Yeah, sure. But it's you know, it's a good time for this kind of, it's a good time of the year for this kind of wine. And I like also Crozes-Hermitage, or even the wine before, the Syrah. It's wine that you can drink a little chilled. When it come in summertime, don't hesitate sometimes to chill those wine. I'm not saying to drink it at 10 degrees, but I mean, you can serve it at 15, 16, and it's and they are getting a bit more warm in the glass. It's interesting because you really have the fruit, and this and it's very aromatic. So in summertime, it's kind of red wine that you can drink easily.
Okay. That's really good, actually, because I never think of chilling Crozes-Hermitage, but yeah, I could see how that would help to bring out the freshness.
Yeah. I really say chill. It's not cold, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you'd say kind of 15 minutes in the fridge door?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
Perfect.
15, 20
Excellent.
minutes. Yeah.
And would you like to talk about the Crozes, the 2015 as well?
2015. So this is in Magnum.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so perfect for the Christmas table.
Yeah, and I must say that I'm a bit jealous because I looked at in the cellar, but I didn't find any more. So if I want to drink a 15 Magnum, I need to go to UK and buy from the Wine Society. So yeah, I mean 2015 it was a great vintage also of the decade. Um, certainly, I mean much better than 13 or 14. 2015 was a serious vintage. Um, quite rich. I think it's a wine with still a good potential, even if I didn't test it 15, I tested 16. I mean to have the feeling about all the older vintage of Crozes, and it's no more young aromatic. It's
Hmm.
a wine which slowly move to more secondary flavor. It's more like kind of a little mushroom flavor. So it's no more a young wine, but it's really slowly going to more mature wine. As
Hmm.
you say, it's beautiful Christmas wine because uh, I mean, with venison,
Yeah.
with those kind of sauce, which are wine sauce, very cooked sauce,
Mm.
can be lovely.
Yeah, I can imagine
And
that would work really well. I'm
and
going to make you very jealous by having it in front of you now, but I mean, it's absolutely stunning. And it has, you're right, it has got started to get that kind of mushroom, again, still quite savory there as well. And there's an underlie of kind of herbal, kind of herb notes as well, which is
yeah,
really, really delicious.
it's yeah,
So
I think so.
Peter's just
It's
asking,
a
Marcel put
yes.
drink dates of up to 2026 on the 22 Crozes-Hermitage, but seems quite young. Would you say that it would not improve beyond 2026?
I think it can go much more.
Yeah.
Uh, that's something I should ask him. Honestly, I'm surprised.
I think,
But
I mean, I think to be
at the
honest,
same time,
Peter,
yeah, I think it's also because we like to drink this wine
hmm
on this specific fruit, and
hmm
and uh, and I think saying that, Marcel maybe want to say that after 26, the wine will start moving to other
mm,
kind of
hmm
flavor. Doesn't mean that the wine is dead. It's just that it will taste differently. Like
hmm
the 2015, the 2015 that you have, or the 2016 that I tested early afternoon to check, uh, is no more young vintage for sure,
hmm
and it's no more kind of Crozes that you are used to drink. Crozes,
hmm
very often people have in mind that Crozes is very fruity, very aromatic.
hmm
It's like immediate pleasure.
mm. Yeah. And so kind of it's moving into a different stage of life, perhaps.
Yeah,
It's not worse or better, it's just different
exactly.
to what you're saying you might be used to. So I think Peter was saying keep it and drink it for as long as you like.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, very good, Peter.
Well, I don't know where everybody's at with their glass of wine at the moment, but I have to say I'm thoroughly enjoying this one. But I am aware that you do need to race off and leave us. So if anybody's got any final question to put to Nicola, please do so now. Otherwise, it's for me to say thank you. Oh, what was the 2024 vintage like?
It was a hard vintage because we had a rainy spring, a very rainy spring.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very short summer. Summer started on the 20th of July and finishing very fast. I mean, 1st of September was cold, and we had a harvest. We had some rain, some nice weather, some rain, some nice weather. So it was a very, very challenging vintage, sorry. Saying that, and to be honest, we were very scared because it was so rainy in spring that we have some mildew coming in July. And so by the end of July, we were convinced that 24 will be very difficult.
Right.
And honestly, we have been surprised by the quantity. In the Northern Rhône, we are below 20%. So it's still a lot. I mean, it's still below 20%, but there are some regions in France who are below 50% and sometimes more.
Yeah.
So when you are below 20, I mean, it's not you are not jumping and saying it's fantastic, but it's just 20%. And we have some very nice surprise. So for wine like Crozes, perfect vintage, super fruity, extremely aromatic, nice color. Maybe for wine with more power like Hermitage or Coitage, I think we need to wait until to really decide which kind of vintage it is. But certainly it's a wine where élevage will be extremely important. I don't think it's a vintage where you should use too much new oak. Maybe just 10% new oak and then use barrique, which are a bit more older.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And then we're going to finish that Magnum. It's a Thursday night, so probably not, but it's tempting because it's delicious. But anyway, just poured myself a glass to say thank you ever so much, Nicola, for your time. Thank you very much to Gil, who's behind the scenes doing all the hard work. And thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. I hope you've had a nice time and it's been wonderful to spend time with you. Thank you for your time and have a lovely dinner.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you all. I mean, you are more than welcome in Tage if one day you cross the Rhône River.
Would definitely recommend
Thank you, Emma. And lovely. I would love to come back also for a real tasting. I mean,
absolutely
with my presence in a room. So whenever in 25, I will be delighted to come.
Perfect. I'll pass that on. Thank you ever so much and take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you.